think it was September. I was mid breathwork session, something I do bi-weekly, and it was at the point where you're breathing for intensely for 20 minutes and reaching that peak of full somatic release, this softening. And this is where I received so much crystal clear clarity. It's like all of my fear, all of my ego just dissolves, and I can hear exactly what I meant to hear in that moment. And the words I got in that deep in that breathwork session were, "You have a podcast. That's cute. Now go speak on stages." Everything changed from that. Everything changed. And it wasn't just, I'm going to go speak on stages. No, this was the catalyst for one, stepping into my mastery, two, stepping into my next identity, and three, dissolving any last remnants of my ADHD where it's not a part of my life anymore. So let's break that down today.
Welcome to Beyond Meds. We're unlocking ADHD management without medication, optimizing physical health, harnessing mindfulness, and biohacking for a med-free life. It's time to take a holistic approach and treat the whole person, not just the symptom.
Welcome to Beyond Meds. My name is Gaia Broda. I am the host here and the founder of ADHD Wellness Co., or known as AWC. And if you are new here, welcome to season 3. The podcast started with how to manage ADHD without medication. It's something that's not talked about, and I wanted to look at different frameworks that we learn about maybe in this area over here, and something we learn about this area over here, but we're not crossing the lines to see how that intersects with regards to ADHD. And now moving into season 3, I'm really carrying on reframing ADHD as a whole, because we're going beyond medication. We're going beyond just managing symptoms, right? We've talked about getting to the root cause that's exacerbating our symptoms, but we need to go beyond this. And it's at the intersection of uncovering what our mastery is and how we can use that to step into our next identity to really show up and serve in the world, because that's what lies on our hearts. That's what you're here to do and what you crave. So season 3, we are going there. And this is such the perfect episode to kick us off, because we're talking about your mastery, your identity, and thresholds. All how that relates to ADHD and going beyond any of the symptoms that you may struggle with in today. Now, I am a little sick, so I do sound congested because I am. But let's dive in. I want to recap 2025 and give some framework for 2026 and 2027, because if you are like most of the world right now, 2025 was a year of big changes, big events happening. It was a year of shedding. The purpose of this was to let go of anything that is no longer aligned in our life. Even if we wanted to hold on to it, it was being stripped away from you, because this is not what you needed. You cannot take this going forward as you step into your mastery, into what you came here to do. If we look at the Chinese New Year, or Chinese a horoscope for the year, it was the year of the snake, a year of shedding. Astrologically, a lot of our outer planets were moving to new signs, which doesn't happen often, and they were all doing it at once, so that's huge transformation for us. And then just the energetic updates were all aligned with that same theme and message. So if you're someone who moved to a different house, started a new job, got fired from a job, maybe launched your own business, maybe your business went bankrupt, maybe you had deaths in your family or in your social circle, relationship breakup, or any of anything else along those lines, you're not alone. For me, it was a beautiful year because I leaned into that, knowing that things were going to be shooken up, and this was propelling me forward to what I was here to do and serve on this world. And as we move into 2026, it is, if you know, the Chinese New Year, it's going to be the year of the fire horse. and also just astrologically, planets are still moving. It is the year of go time. We have shedded, we are realigning. Now it's time to go. It's to take what is only aligned for you and to use those skills, put them into the world in only the way that you can and know how to really create catalysts for change on this planet in whatever way that is for you. Maybe for you it feels very self-serving, but there's a ripple effect that provides positive change in the world. Or maybe for you it is something that you're serving the greater community and that is your why, and you can see the results more directly. Whatever it is perfect for you. And now moving to 2027 in human design, that is a paradigm shift. So every 7 years we shift the paradigm, and it is moving into the paradigm of the individual. So moving away from the collective of the community and focusing on the individual, which is so pertinent with how much we're focusing on AI right now. Because you can ask any question and get an answer to it. So the way to stand out, the way to serve, the way to use your gifts is not to regurgitate, but it's to show up as you in your, the cliche word authenticity, but in the way that only you can, because you're the only you on this planet. And this links into the topic of mastery. So I wanted to share that framework to lay the basis of this episode. When I was in that breathwork session and I got that clear direction that you will speak on stages, that your podcast is cute, literally those words, the reason that was such a catalyzing moment for me was I had been trying for many years, I think since 2016, to run an online business. I had tried other little businesses before then, but to have an online business that was successful. Decade later, we're still trying. So full disclosure, I had never had a financially sustainable online business that was the framework I wanted. Even though I had hired the coaches, hired the mentors, bought the programs, was doing all of the things. I was doing all of the strategies to a T. I even had coaches say, I don't know why this isn't working for you. You've literally done everything, like A+ student here. You followed everything exactly as it should be. You're so coachable. I don't know why it's not working for you. You just got to stay the course. And I did. I was like, okay, eventually this will work. I'll just keep going. I'll keep pushing and pushing. And that just led to burnout. And it led to burnout again, and frustration and defeat and hopelessness. And then getting diagnosed with ADHD about 5 years ago. It's like, oh, it hasn't worked because of my ADHD. That's the thing that's standing in my way. So at a loss of which direction to go, I went on medication. Very briefly, for about a week's time, it's like, this is not for me. Even though it worked, this is not for me. That's a story for another time. And then devoted my energy and my time to be like, how can I manage life without medication, but also, without having to keep a corporate job, because that's a struggle, without having to keep an entry-level job, because that just exhausts me, and to build my own business. And we tried and tried and tried. And that story has evolved with not just managing ADHD, but really thriving in it. And what I learned, and this has really come full force in the last couple of months, but it wasn't about the strategies not working or not having the right strategy. It wasn't about not having the right coach or mentor. It wasn't about the ADHD, because when I did all of the things I teach on this podcast and my YouTube channel of managing med-free, I was doing all of the things, nourishing my body, sleeping well, managing my stress, moving my body every day. Like, my symptoms were very minimal, but I was still struggling with creating a business. So what was I missing, right? I literally am doing all of the things. Internally, I felt very peaceful and very happy and a fulfilling enough life, but the desire I truly had was to be able to make a difference in the world that was financially sustainable from a business sense. And it wasn't happening. So last year when I launched this podcast, I thought that was the answer. I was like, I'm done burning out. I left the coaching space because although it was fulfilling, it just didn't quite hit the mark for me. And again, I still was struggling to be financially sustainable in a business. I was like, podcasting, that's it. And I can have ad partners and sponsors. I have a membership program. It's still running. It's like I can have that as an offer. And I can just speak my message, my words, which I know impacts. I know my greatest gift is my voice. And I can speak that through the mic. And I will change lives that way. And it's free content. It's very accessible. This is my mission. And I did all of the things to make the podcast successful. And it is, but it wasn't what I thought with regard to a business sense. And again, I was feeling defeated. So when I did that breathwork session, I was not expecting that message. But I knew it was true at my deepest core. I knew it was true in my heart. That when I moved into the podcast last year, yes, it was aligned. I was using my greatest gift, my voice, and in a way that is unique to me, of being able to see things from different angles and nuances. And my self-experimentation really plays into how I share and teach content. And also in the ways I teach and explain it in certain terms and analogies that have never been heard before, right? This was what I was meant to do. But I knew this, although I didn't want to admit it to myself, that I was hiding behind the microphone. I was hiding behind a computer screen in any of my iterations of my online business, and especially my podcast. I was sharing more truthfully, more bold, more vulnerably. And that already was a stretch. So I thought, okay, this is my path forward. It's stretching me. But I was still hiding behind a microphone and a screen. I was still playing small. I was still hiding behind fear and wasn't stepping into the truest form of my gifts and skills, or my mastery. This is important. I really want you to hear this. Because of all of my iterations of my business work, yes, I was using my skill set. That's important, our skill set. I was moving to my zones of genius, stuff that it just comes so easily to me, right? We have our skills that we're good at, but then there are zones of genius where this is so natural to me that I can't even believe it's a skill. Doesn't everyone have this skill? That type of thing. But I wasn't in my mastery because there were still these fears that I wasn't willing to step through that were keeping me comfortable, which kept my business not comfortable. It kept my business stuck. It kept my growth stuck. It kept the desire on my heart. I always knew I was meant for business. I always knew I'd run a successful business. I always knew I would be self-sufficient in that way. It kept that deep core desire plateaued. So when the message came, you need to go speak on stages because what you're doing is cute. It was my fear just thrown right in front of my face. Because although I was stretching myself on the podcast of what I was sharing, the true test is now, can you hold your message? Can you hold your truth? Can you hold what you believe so firmly in and do it in front of a live audience on a stage and continually do that? And in that moment, I was like, yeah, let's fucking go. Although it was terrifying, it was that perfect mix of fear and excitement because I knew that was my mastery, what has always been in my heart. And I always believe if something feels equally scary as exciting, that's your path forward.
I always get asked, what did I do to minimize my ADHD symptoms to virtually nothing? How do I manage med-free? And although there are many contributing factors, which I teach on this podcast, there is one that stands out, which has made the greatest impact in managing my ADHD, along with contributing to me just being able to trust the flow of life more and being more at ease with it. And that is my daily self-hypnosis work, where I reprogram my subconscious mind to create new neural pathways. These new neural pathways support the life I want to create and have. I do this with the help and guidance of the 2E Magnetic Program and app. The 2E Magnetic Program guides me through these self-hypnosis tracks to work through, heal, and reprogram whatever I want to focus on, such as money and spending habits, health and body image, getting past procrastination, taking intentional versus impulsive action, and some of my other favorites, doing deep inner child and shadow work, both which have resulted in deep inner healing that have contributed to a decrease in my ADHD symptoms. Best part, it's at the fraction of a cost of typical hypnosis sessions, and I can do it in the comfort and safety of my own bedroom. Hands down, this is the best membership I've ever joined. And honestly, I tell everyone I know about on how impactful it's been for me and that I know will be for them as well. So I'm excited to offer you, as a listener of Beyond Meds, a 15% off discount on the membership. Just use the link below and you can sign up either on a payment plan or pay in full with that 15% off. Again, that's 15% off their membership to do self-hypnosis work and reprogram your subconscious mind to have the life that you desire.
How does this all relate to ADHD? When I committed to going all in on my live speaking journey, my live speaking career, my ADHD the remnants of what was still there fell away. And I truly believe this, that when we step into our assignment, which is our mastery, into that next identity, which we've always been, but we're claiming that next identity, we're realigning, that any parts of our ADHD that we may have struggled with, maybe you are doing all the things that I talk about, moving your body, regulating your nervous system, nourishing your body and your gut, sleeping well, even taking some supplements for cognitive health. But, we still, like I still struggle with ADHD things, task switching throughout my day, leaving one hyperfocus and trying to get back into the next task an hour later. My brain just not firing in the morning once I want to record a podcast. But when I fully committed to stepping to my mastery, all of those little remnants of ADHD, those symptoms that would still pop up here and there, disintegrated. They just literally melted away. The day I went full-time into my keynote speaking was the day I was like, ADHD what? Like, why is this so easy? Why is this so easy? Even when I was running iterations of my business before, still using my gifts and my zones of genius and feeling like I was aligned in a lot of ways, I still struggled in some small aspects. Not enough to, that was debilitating or completely threw me off, but still small aspects. And now it's completely gone. And I truly believe this, that when we anchor into what we were meant to do on this planet, we won't struggle. Yes, it may be uncomfortable. Yes, it will be scary. Yes, it will feel hard at times because we're being stretched. We're being stretched into what we were meant to become and step into. So yeah, that's not going to be pleasant all the time, but it won't be a struggle. We won't be pushing up against a brick wall all the time. We won't be fighting what we call our ADHD. It's actually flow. It's actually ease. Not easy, but there's an ease to it. And yes, there's other components, like we need to, of course, be betting on ourselves and hold that faith and mission in our hand and mind and know and trust this is the direction forward and not try and control it. But there won't be a struggle because ADHD or not, everyone on this planet is here with their unique gifts to share with the world, with their own unique mastery. When we were created, when you were created, it wasn't like God gave everyone this beautiful skill set and made everyone, by design, but you not. You were the exception. That's not how it works. So if you feel you're struggling with ADHD, that's not a flaw, not a defect. That is your journey for a reason. You are meant to transcend your struggles, transform them into your mastery, and use that to serve the world. So let's dive into the struggle. If you feel like you are struggling right now, especially if 2025 just threw you for a loop, if say you run a business or in your career, you want to get promoted or you want to take your business to the next level or just have a financially sustainable business like I did. Maybe you had success in other areas of your life like I also had, but you feel like you've done all the strategies and maybe it's gotten you so far. It's gotten you to where you are in your job right now, but you're like, oh, I just really want that promotion or I would really like to do this type of work, but I've done all the things and it's either exhausting you, leaving you frustrated, probably burning you out, and you're like, I don't know what else to do because the strategy that got me here is either no longer working or I don't see myself being able to continue in this way because I'm exhausted and I just don't have any drive or oomph left in me. Or I don't know what other strategies I could even possibly try to get me where I want to go because on your heart, there is something that your soul is craving to do or to serve or to be in the world. And you're like, I don't know if I'm capable or able to get there and I don't know the way. And this is where I was in multiple different instances. But if we use my podcast as an example where I thought this was my mastery. It's like I'm running a podcast. This is it. But still, I was doing all of the strategies and it still felt like I had a struggle. Like I was constantly pushing up against friction. The strategies work and I was implementing them right. There's nothing wrong there. But were the strategies aligned for me? Because I was going down the path towards my zones of genius, my skill of serving the world with my mission, towards this path. But the optimal path for me, the one where there isn't a struggle, where there's flow, where I can step into my mastery and really see the success I want and crave, is actually this way. It's a little detour, a little fork in the road. I had to realign to that path. And this is where it's such the perfect time to be diving into this conversation because with AI and in business or career, we can ask any question we want and get the answer, like how do I set up a funnel for my email list and how do I convert those people on my email list to be customers, right? We can figure that all out. And that works. Like that was created for a reason and it works. And you could do all of that like I did many times. It never worked. And when it did kind of work, it took so much effort out of me, it burnt me out time and time again. For me, I had to realign. That wasn't my path. There was maybe that strategy, but approaching it a different way that was aligned with my gifts, my zones of genius, and my unique energy structure. That's so key. So key. So the path forward from where you are now could be the exact same strategy. It could be a strategy you've done before. It could be a new strategy, one that's never even been created before. But how it's going to be effective for you is that, first of all, use your skills and zones of genius. It's aligned with your energy structure. And it takes you towards your mastery. So your strategy forward, actually, that isn't even the question. It's less of what's my strategy. It's more of, okay, I am where I'm at. Am I using my skills? Check. Am I using my zones of genius? Check. Am I operating in my unique energy structure in ways that give me energy or maintain it, but definitely don't take energy away? That's key. And then we need to pinpoint, what am I scared of? Where does the shadow and shame live? Where am I too scared to go because, I'm making excuses for myself? I'm saying it's not possible. I'm just saying, like, I just don't want that. That's uncomfortable. But at a deep body soul level that that's just fear. And that is actually the way forward. Fear is always the way forward. Because that is your realignment towards your mastery. I used to, and I still say this all of the time, that our fear, especially our big fears in life, are our greatest gifts, our mastery. So I love doing aerial silks in the air, ideally high up in the air, or other activities that I'm high up in the air, like rock climbing, flying trapeze, you name it. And so people say, they're like, oh, I wish I could do that, but I'm too afraid of heights. Like, aren't you scared up there? And I don't think they believe me when I tell them that I'm terrified, or I've always been terrified of heights and terrified of falling. Like, riding a bike, it petrifies me because I'm scared of falling off of it. It's not that high off the ground. It's not that I'm not afraid. It's that when I started doing this, I knew this brought me so much joy, and I was determined to face the fear again and again and again till it didn't become a fear anymore, and it became my greatest joy. I truly believe in fear exposure when we can face it, see it from a different lens, transcend it. That becomes our greatest, skill, our greatest joy, something that really fulfills us in life. When I tell people I'm a professional speaker, they're like, oh, I could never speak on a stage. I'm terrified of speaking in front of people. What they don't know is that was me. I couldn't speak in front of, a family friend without going so red in the face and being so shy and so embarrassed. Like, I would squeak out my name or a few words. I was so shy and so scared. I remember in high school doing, your classic presentations, and just I'd feel so sick as I sat in my chair waiting to be called up to the front. Like, I would dread that day weeks in advance, knowing that I had to give a presentation. It's terrifying. So when I entered the business world after graduating university, I told myself being able to give a presentation and public speak is a really, really strong skill, especially in the business world. And I was dedicated to climb the corporate ladder. So I forced myself to join Toastmasters to learn how to public speak. Why did I do this? Like, it was my greatest fear, and I knew this would benefit me. I didn't think I'd love speaking, so I did it. And I fell in love with speaking and realized that this brought me so much joy and fulfillment, and that my voice is my greatest gift. From someone who was too scared to speak out loud and kept to herself for so long, I was hiding my greatest gift. And I grew that skill, and at times I pushed it away because it was uncomfortable, because, if you don't use something for a while, it becomes uncomfortable and foreign. But I kept coming back to it. But what really had me step into my mastery was facing those other shadow elements, those other fear elements of speaking what is on my heart and messages that I'm getting from God. That is my part of my faith. Speaking them boldly, unapologetically, and standing rooted in my conviction of my message, and not just doing that where I can hide somewhere, but doing that in front of people and not wavering. That is my mastery. So I want you to ask yourself, if I am aligned with my zones of genius and showing up in the way that's unique to me, which, is a big thing with ADHD, is owning what we call our superpowers, owning your authenticity, owning your uniqueness, not through a lens of ADHD, but who you are at a core. And then ask yourself, okay, what am I afraid of? What are my deep, deep fears? They don't have to make sense. I like to do this exercise every day, just listing out the fears, just whatever's coming up, because there's goal to that, right? You don't need to have it make sense right now. And then moving towards that. I promise you that's going to bring you to your mastery. Because what happens when we feel stuck, burnt out, frustrated, things aren't working, or we don't know how to get to the next level that we crave, is that where we want to go is this dangling carrot. God or source, universe, whatever term works for you, is dangling this carrot. You want that. You desire that so badly. So badly. And it's dangled there for you because that is your motivation to do the work, to face the shame, face the shadow, face your greatest fear, and move towards it, because on the other side, it is going to feel so good, so fulfilling at a soul heart level, and it's going to be easeful, like not easy, but easeful. And you're going to be in flow. It's going to feel seamless. It's not going to be a struggle because you're in your mastery. And the worst thing that we can do, and we've all fallen into this, me for definitely. So when we see the dangling carrot, we know we want to go there, but I'm exhausted. I've tried everything and it hasn't worked. Like, maybe I'll just give up. Maybe it's easier just not trying, which is not true. It's going to feel more exhausting because you're going against your unique zones of genius and your energy structure. Or we keep forcing in the same way. It's like, well, I'll keep doing it this way because that's what I've been told works. And that's what makes sense. And it also exhausts us because it doesn't get us to where we want to go. And we feel like this shouldn't be this hard. You're right. It shouldn't be that hard. Because there is a more easeful way. And bringing it back to the ADHD, when I committed to my speaking, like I said, the ADHD fell away. And I truly believe this. Because your journey here, whatever that may be, whatever struggles you will need to face in order to get to your mastery, to be able to share with the world your gifts. And if you feel like the ADHD is your major struggles right now, I want you to know that's perfect. Your struggles, your tribulations are what make you. They are part of your story and your testimony when you transcend them, and you will. They're meant to teach us. They're meant to grow us. They're meant to stretch us. But the worst thing you can do is to stay in the pain of them, to stay in the victimhood of them, to stay in the midst of, it's just not going to work. It's always going to be this way. It's not true. I am not more gifted than you. I am not more of less than you. We are all uniquely worthy, uniquely gifted, uniquely blessed, and we're all here for a purpose. It's a disservice, doing a major disservice to the world, to your community, to your family, your friends, your social circle, by not moving towards your mastery and being able to share what you are meant to share with the world, those around you.
You've tried all the ADHD strategies. You have systems, routines, maybe even medication, and you're managing. But life still feels like you're swimming upstream while everyone else is floating. Here's what no one tells you about ADHD management. The basic advice only gets you so far. The planners, the timers, the just focus strategies, they do work until they don't. And you're doing everything right, but your brain still feels like it's working against you. It's like you're showing up early for work, you're staying late, you're busy all day, but at the end of the day, nothing was done. You're just fighting your brain because it just wouldn't fire. You're doing your absolute best, but your work still isn't good enough. And you're falling into these familiar shame spirals over and over again. The truth, ADHD doesn't have to feel this hard forever. The missing pieces that they don't teach you in basic ADHD advice are the root cause solutions, such as why your gut health is sabotaging your focus and how to actually absorb the healthy food you're eating, why your sleep is a silent culprit behind amplified ADHD symptoms and how to fix it, how to work with your nervous system instead of against it, and the exercise protocols that actually impact and stick for ADHD brains, not just the generic fitness advice. Because this isn't about managing your ADHD. It's about finally understanding how your brain works and taking back the controls so you're the one driving your life, not your ADHD. The Biohacking ADHD membership is the advanced course for people who've outgrown basic ADHD advice. Instead of more strategies to cope with your ADHD, you're going to get the biological foundation that makes all strategies actually work. So if you're ready to stop swimming upstream, join the Biohacking ADHD membership to get over $2,500 worth of protocols all in one place for just $30 a month. The link is ko-fi.com/ADHD Wellness Co, which is also linked below. Your brain isn't broken. It just needs different tools. And you deserve to be the one in control of finding what works for you.
Let's transition into identity. So when I got that message, speak on stages, what made that transition so easeful and seamless for me, and it happened quite quickly, was stepping into this identity of the woman who was already speaking on stages. You may have heard this before, like I had for years in the manifestation world of, if you want to have it, if you want to become it, you just need to visualize it. Visualize yourself having it, visualize yourself being it. And I would often talk about this and coach on this, as you fall asleep at night, as you wake up in the morning in that hypnotic state or go into hypnosis, visualize yourself being that person or having the thing you want. In my fitness identity course, I talked a lot about that. See yourself as being the person who lives a healthy lifestyle, who lives an active lifestyle. Become that. So this is tried and true and it works. But for me, and you may also resonate with this, I was doing that. But there was aspects of my life, such as the business, what I just talked about, where I couldn't quite step into the identity. It's like I was, okay, I'll visualize it. And I would, but it took so much conscious effort to visualize and hold that vision. And it was easy to forget how to start to act like that in regular life. I still did, but not to the extent that I have stepped into this new identity in recent months. So when I got this direction, I was like, oh, okay, this is where we're going. Because when you know your mastery, you know it. It's always has been a part of you. Meaning stepping into this next identity of someone who's in their mastery is already known to you. So all those past times that you may have also visualized yourself doing something or having something like I did, at times it did feel easy. At times it felt really awkward. It's because if it wasn't meant for us, if it didn't already exist for us, if it wasn't already on our heart and in our being, it's going against who we are supposed to be, right? If I started to envisioning myself as being, I don't know, a pro sports player, I could visualize that, but it would feel really awkward and difficult. I'd be like, okay, I'm really trying to force it. Okay, now I'm going to show up and act like someone who's a pro sports player. That's just, it would feel really disconnected. Versus when I had this message of like, go speak on stages, I was like, yeah, no, that's right. I always knew that for myself. Yeah. So stepping into the identity was like, okay, no, I always knew that for myself. I've always seen that vision, though maybe not literally every day, but like could feel that. Okay, I don't need to visualize this day in and day out because it's already known to me and I can just step into it. And stepping into it for me acted like, okay, we're going to upgrade my wardrobe because the version of myself that's on stages speaking, she's embodying more of this like Parisian vibe. And that feels really good to me. So I'm going to update my wardrobe. That feels really good. That feels normal and natural. I did a lot of upgrades to my home and changing the decor because it felt like this right now, it just feels disjointed. It doesn't match the identity I'm stepping into. Let's make some changes. How I showed up in rooms, the energy I had, how I spoke, how I set boundaries with my business, with my social life. That all changed because when I thought of this woman who's on stages, who I always knew I was, it felt disjointed if I didn't upgrade these other areas of my life. So it became really natural and easeful because I was already, this timeline already existed for me. This version of myself already existed. I'm just now choosing to fully be in it. So if this resonates, if you're like, yeah, I've tried that before, but sometimes it felt really hard to visualize or embody this, it's because that version, that identity wasn't meant for you. And when we can see our fears or get a clear calling of where we're supposed to go to our mastery, right? It's going to be uncomfortable. That's the identity that's meant for us. And it will feel so much easier to step into than past identities that haven't led you fully to your mastery. They've maybe been a stepping stone. But this next step into this next identity, you're at the threshold. It's going to be so much easier and it's going to happen so much quicker. I want you to know that. So it's not going to take a lot of effort. It's going to be a conscious choice, but it's going to feel more of like a pulling, like you're getting pulled forward into that. And you see, the more I've stepped into this, and I see this woman on the stage who is me, she doesn't have ADHD. She doesn't struggle with it at all. So as I stepped into the identity, all of those remaining struggles I've had here and there just fell away. And if something did pop up, it didn't bother me. I didn't judge it. I didn't make it mean anything. And I didn't stress about it because I was like, oh, this is a normal part of being human. This isn't part of my new identity. That's fine if this is popping up now because it's not going to be a thing that stands in my way going forward. Let's wrap this up, bring it all the way home. You probably know your skills. You maybe know your zones of genius, those things that you're like, ooh, I'm really good at doing it in this way. You maybe know your unique energy structure of how you show up and do it and what brings you the energy. That's like limitless energy. Now your mastery. What is the path that you need to take, the person you need to grow into, to be stretched into, to being your mastery? Your guiding light there is shame, shadow, and fear. Anything that feels like, ooh, that's uncomfortable. I don't want to face that. That's your path. Because all it takes is a little realignment to that. And you know the strategies. You know them already. So incorporate whatever strategy you want. But once you're realigned, that's when things take off. And that's where you're going to get pulled into this next identity that already exists for yourself. And that's also where the ADHD struggles drop away. Of course, you need to be supporting your body with our core 4 foundations, right? Nourishment, movement, nervous system regulation, sleep. But those things will start to come naturally if you are stepping towards your mastery. Because that version of yourself, they've conquered those 4 pillars. I would love to know if this is landing for you. Drop a comment. You can send me an email, which I'll link in the show notes. Often when I share on my podcast, it's stuff that I've transcended and we'll say an expert at. It's stuff that I'm like, ooh, I know this. I can teach this to you. Let's go there. And then this episode, and there's other episodes like this where it's something I'm moving through or have just moved through. So it's still fresh for me. Meaning that how I go about sharing it with you and explaining it is still evolving, still dynamic. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this and what's even coming up for you. You know, where do you feel your mastery is? Maybe you're not sure yet, or because your mastery is really using your zones of genius and then using it in a way that aligns with your energy structure and stretching you into that next level. So maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but what are your zones of genius? What feels good and gives you energy and showing up in the world? What's your energy structure? I'd love to know. Drop a comment or send me an email. Love to connect. And my ask for you, I have 2 asks. First one is that, as you know, I'm speaking on stages. This is conferences, retreats, even small networking events, both virtually and in person. So if you are someone who's part of these groups or organizes events or part of associations or goes to conferences that you believe my message would land, that would resonate, I would love to hear. I would love to know. Please connect me with the person to speak with, or maybe it's yourself. Drop me an email. This is my mastery, to speak on stages. So I'd be so honored if you support me in moving forward in this. And my next ask for you, just takes a minute, is to rate this podcast, give it 5-star review, leave an actual review, subscribe as well, drop a comment. All of the engagement things. This helps reach more people who do need this. I just think of all the times that I'm looking for something, looking for some information, looking for a podcast, looking for a conference, an event. And then my friend, someone in my network, comments on it, and it goes up and shows up in my feed. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for engaging with this so I could find it because I needed this, right? So your engagement helps that person who's looking for it, doesn't know where to look. But when you engage with it, it shows up on their side or it helps reach more people. So I'd be so appreciative. That wraps us up. This feels complete on my end. Much love, and I'll see you in the next episode.